Hello, BookTube. I made a video earlier today about an event that's going on with me and Mark at Book Time with Elvis, where we have decided that we're going to read books to you. He's been reading Pride and Prejudice out loud on his channel, and it has charmed me so much that I horned my way in. So we're going to be reading The Warden by Anthony Trollope in August, which is just a few days away. And that made me think automatically about other upcoming August BookTube things that are going on. In our read-along, there's no participation necessary by you, although I strongly urge you to read The Warden if you haven't already read it. But another BookTube event that's coming up is big. It's had lots of fanfare. It has lots and lots of people anticipating that, and that is Garb August. Reading trash in August, which was created, of course, need it be said, by Criminale, and is going to revel in garbage for the whole month long. And I'm one of the disreputable hosts. I'll be having a great deal of fun with that. But another August event that's coming up is Book Trek, the return of Book Trek. Some of you may remember that last year, Vin at Revenant Reads created an event called Book Trek, where the event celebrates Star Trek fiction. And the original Book Trek, it had, much like the original Enterprise, a few design flaws. It was too long. A BookTube event that goes on more than 2 months is going to die before it reaches its end. That's just too long for an event to go on. So Book Trek 2022 is only 2 months. It's August and September, which has a nice kind of shot and chaser feel to it. It's Vin who's leading us. He's our dauntless captain. There's Michael K. Vaughan, there's Gina Stanyer, and there's me. We are your hosts, but we encourage the rest of you to read some Star Trek fiction, just like last time. Now, that has changed. That Book Trek is shorter now as an event. It still has some of the same familiar hosts. It still has some genial prompts. It's still very wide open and encouraging. And I'd be willing to bet, I should warn you, that another aspect of Book Trek 2021 is probably going to carry over to Book Trek 2022, which is a lot of videos from me. I love Star Trek, most of it. I have been a fan since the very beginning. And the current setup of Book Trek 2022 is very inviting to me. I'm hoping to you as well. August is the original is the known universe of Star Trek, or Star Trek that is familiar to you. And then September is Strange New Worlds, where you break out into Star Trek that isn't familiar to you. And I'm going to go at that whole hog. So in August, I'm going to reread a ton of Star Trek. Now, in Book Trek 2021, I made a decision not to go back and reread any of my favorites, because I've read them many, many times. It seemed like a waste. It seemed sort of timid. And I'm going to mostly stick to that for Book Trek 2022. I will reread some old favorites, but I'm all of the original Star Trek novels, for instance, the novels of the original series, are rereads for me. And a great number of Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager novels are also rereads for me. I will do some of that rereading. I'm not going to religiously avoid it. There was no way I could avoid it last time either. But in this case, I will mix in some old favorites from those. And that's going to be great. That's going to be a lot of fun. There are a lot of those books that I have not revisited in years. I will try to concentrate on those instead of the ones that I go back to every year. But a lot of you in Book Trek 2021 emailed me and said you'd like to hear me talk about the books I go back to every year as well. So I'll be working that in. But the point is, August for Star Trek will be extremely familiar ground. I'm going to concentrate mostly on the original series, and I'm going to have a blast. And then for the second part, for the September part of Book Trek 2022, I'm going to try and read Star Trek that I've never read before. So not stuff that's, that I'm mostly unfamiliar with or that I glanced at once but never. In fact, I'm hoping that by the time September comes along, there will be Star Trek Strange New Worlds fiction for me to read. Not just the general rubric of the read-along, but specifically fiction written in the universe of the recently concluded first season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which was a critical and fan darling. People loved the show, even though it took a gigantic working on union wages, quit at 5 wrecking ball to Star Trek continuity. It didn't just flirt with that continuity. It took a wrecking ball to that continuity. You would think that if that's the case, Star Trek fans, especially old-time Star Trek fans like myself, would hate it for that reason. But it won me over. I'm not such a dyed-in-the-wool ideologue that if you get a character's race or gender wrong, I'm going to hate what you do, even if what you do is as good as what Star Trek Strange New Worlds was. It was incredibly energetic, usually very well written, usually very well acted, and gorgeous. So I'll be talking a lot about Strange New Worlds in September anyway, but I'm hoping that there's a novel. Generally speaking, when Paramount has even a vague hit on their hands, they put out books. Has there been a Strange New Worlds novel that maybe I don't know about? I will find it, if there has been, and I will read it. I mean, Paramount put out at least a couple of novels of Star Trek Discovery, which was reviled by fans. So if they can do that, surely they can do Strange New Worlds. But there are also, I think, a couple of Star Trek Picard novels that I have not read. I think I've only read one of those, and I think there are 4 or 5. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that we will explore in September. A whole bunch of Star Trek that I intend to be new to me. I would like it if most of the Star Trek that I read in September is fiction inspired by shows. So Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Prodigy, Star Trek Picard, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It would be ideal if I could find a month's worth of stuff to read under those rubrics, but I very much doubt, at my reading speed, I very much doubt that there's a whole month of that stuff out there, unless I mosey on over to fanfiction.net, where I'm sure there are thousands of stories about Strange New Worlds. Thousands. Probably, unfortunately, there are thousands of stories about Discovery as well. Maybe I'll wade into those as well. Maybe that'll be fun. But first, I wanted to remind you that Book Trek 2022 is coming and that you should get ready. If you're a booktuber and you're going to participate, I'd love to see a TBR. What do you plan to revisit or visit of known Star Trek in August? Known, settled, canonical Star Trek in August. It's actually a kind of a great split, because we now have enough Kurtzman Trek, enough new Trek, to form a body on its own. If you start with the J.J. Abrams movies and include all the Star Trek that's come after that, you now have a large body of Star Trek to counterbalance the real Star Trek that came before that, the great Star Trek that came before that. So whether or not that was the way that Captain Vin originally envisioned that split, that's how I'm going to do it. I'd love to hear how you're going to do it. I'm going to concentrate on Kelvin timeline Star Trek for August. And I'm going to have a blast doing it. I've got a ton of ebooks. I've got a ton of physical books. I'm going to be on the lookout for both. And probably making a lot of videos. I don't see that I won't. I don't think that I'll be able to resist. You are duly warned. So I'll leave a link to my co-host down below, and I urge you to join us. So I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.